Welcome back to the Mastering Runeterra podcast with Jay and Bay, the #1 source for competitive Legends of Runeterra news and information. If you're looking for the best decks to play right now, be sure to check us out on Twitter at Master Runeterra or in our Discord. And if you want to take the next step in leveling up your game, check out our Runeterra team on Patreon, where we do weekly learning calls and one-on-one coaching. Now strap in and grab yourself some Poro snacks, because we are about to start Mastering Runeterra.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Mastering Runeterra podcast Deck Tech. This time with Zoe Vi, aka Rubin Pile. We are going to break down this deck. We're going to tell you kind of how it works. We're going to go card by card through the deck, tell you why we're playing all of the cards in the deck. Then we are going to go over the popular matchups in the meta and how you approach them. Then we're going to do some Mulligan exercises where we do some sample hands against each one of those decks. Theoretically, what we would keep, what we would throw back, and why. And then we're going to play a couple of games on the ladder on Majin Bay's channel account himself. And then we're done. What do you say, Bay?
Yeah, sounds good. I love this deck.
Yeah.
Any excuse to play Zoe right now.
I know you're a big fan.
I am a big fan.
So for anyone that doesn't know, this deck is called Rubin Pile because it is popularized by Rubin himself. I call him Rubin Zoo. What's his actual?
Rubin Zoo. That's his like riot name. His name is Steve Rubin.
Right.
So any of you who come from Magic probably recognize that name.
Pro Tour champion.
Quite a Pro Tour champion. Yeah, storied Magic the Gathering player turned Riot developer. So yeah, he brought this, not this list, but he brought this archetype all the way up to rank 1 this season. He likes to play a 1 of Victor like some sort of madman.
Mad lad.
I and most others playing the list have cut the Victor in favor of the third Vi, because she's really good right now. But yeah, he kind of birthed this archetype, really brought it into the limelight.
Yeah, it's like a... So on paper, when you look at it, it's like, what does this deck do? It's called a pile.
It's a pile of cards.
Because it's literally a pile of good cards.
It's just a pile of cards,
that do stuff.
That like kind of work together.
Yeah, so I tell you what, let's jump into the cards, because otherwise when you start talking about the cards individually, they don't always make a lot of sense, but together...
They work, yeah,
it works. So let's jump into let's go over card by card, and then after that we'll kind of discuss like, this is why you're playing these, this is how these complement each other and whatnot. Okay, so first we'll start with the champions. We got Zoe herself. What more needs to be said about
great champion? I still think Zoe's probably the best champion in the game right now. Like, she's not played a lot because the prevalence of like Aurelia Azir and Thresh Nasus, like Merciless Hunter, is really bad for Zoe, but I still think she's like one of the most impactful champions in the entire game. She just doesn't have a good home right now. The meta is not very good for her, but very happy to play her here. She just turns an entire game. Like, when you play Zoe on one, the game's about Zoe now, and that's like really helpful. Plus, if you get in once, like that super cool star chart, those cards are super impactful. Finding like a Serpent or an Equinox or a Crescent Strike at the right time can totally swing a game.
Yeah, Zoe always a good card, as we say. Just like it always trades, she always trades up for like resources and mana typically. And in this deck, does like extra work, because this whole deck is kind of like all about playing a bunch of different cards and having like toolbox solutions to any sort of problem, which Zoe does perfectly with that super cool star chart.
And then moving on, Vi.
Yeah, so Vi is a weird one. Vi's, to me anyways, like Vi is like a card that like I've only really seen play in this deck and some other like fringe decks, and when like I haven't been playing quite as long as you, and I've just always been like really kind of curious about how Vi works, or like why like she's even the way that she is. Like, what is she all about?
So she's basically just a big stick. She's like removal on a stick that sometimes survives. and she puts like a lot of pressure on the battlefield. And she's really good in these like PNZ style control decks because almost all your removal is damage based. We'll get into that later, but like most of the removal is damage based. And so in the middle of the game, before like your star shapings and stuff come online, you need something to deal with things like Thresh. You need something to deal with things like Azir. And the rest of your deck just can't really handle it at that point in the game on turn like 5 through 7. And that's where Vi comes in. She really like fills that gap. You know, she can deal with the Thresh. She can deal with the Azir and live. She trades up usually. And so just like super, super strong card. And sometimes she just wins you the game, which is obviously really good. Like if they can't kill her, she's just going to start just destroying your opponent.
Yeah, exactly. I want to touch on the point you made there. She's basically removal that like sometimes hangs around and just mops up and wins the game. Because when you look at her, typically your champions are your like win conditions, but like Zoe Vi aren't like they are, but they aren't in this deck.
They aren't,
like they can.
You can. Yeah.
Sometimes
but that's not what they're there for.
Yeah, sometimes they just like go unanswered and like, yeah, they'll win you the game. But typically they're just like value and like they answer things that need to be answered, and then you win via like star shaping or something. Which is what I didn't really realize when I was first looked at vibes. Like, okay, gotta make her 10 power, gotta level her, and then like I don't know. I guess I just keep hitting them. Yeah, but that's not it. You want to use them as resources. Okay, next up we got Spacey Sketcher.
Spacey Sketcher is probably one of my favorite cards in the game. Actually, like one of my favorite followers. 1 mana 1/1 is just nice to have in a deck that wants to be blocking things. It's like a pretty good roadblock, blocks Dunekeeper, blocks a lot of things, Fading Icon and stuff. Plus, it discards a card to invoke a Celestial card that costs 3 or less. And I've said this a lot, but the Celestial cards that cost 3 or less are probably the most powerful for their mana cost out of all the Celestial cards. They're incredibly efficient, and Spacey Sketcher can get them for no extra mana, right? If you cast Super Cool Star Chart, then you're paying 2 mana for them. But Spacey Sketcher's like mana even because you're getting a 1/1 for 1, which is like fine. And then you get the Celestial card. You don't see much of Sketcher outside of decks that can give you fodder for discard. But this deck is very good. You have 3 bots and 3 goats where you get the ignitions and the gems. And then you often use the Super Cool Star Chart actually as for Spacey Sketcher. Like you hit with Zoe, use Spacey Sketcher to get rid of the Super Cool Star Chart mana efficiently. That way you can play onto the board and continue to hit with Zoe, generating more Super Cool Star Charts without using all your mana on it. So you almost always have something to discard with Spacey Sketcher in this deck, which I absolutely love, and that's why I'm running 3.
Yeah, I like Sketcher a lot more in this deck than like when she was played in like Zoe Acel decks, and like you would use her because sometimes you get run over, so you like ditch an Acel or something early in the game because you know you're not going to need that for forever. You just need to survive. But it always felt kind of bad. Like I never wanted to discard my good cards.
But I want to cast it. Real quick, everything in this deck that has 2 different spells attached. Spacey Sketcher, Fangs, all this kind of stuff, Poro Cannon. They're all very good for both our champions. Both our champions want to be casting a lot of different spells to charge up Vi and to flip Zoe as fast as possible. So all these things that are like 2 different cards in one, kind of very good in this deck.
That's right. Yeah, a lot of synergy. And a lot of skill involved on when you're playing your Sketcher and what you're getting, because there's a lot of options to both typically when you're discarding, when you're going to play her out, when you're going to go get the specific card that you're looking for. Kind of like a Swiss Army knife of like answers or potential threats. Okay, moving on, we got the bot.
The bot. This card is a house. If you've played the format at all, you know it. 1/3, 2 mana with augment. Round start, create an ignition in hand. Ballistic Bot blocks. It gets big. It attacks. It generates fodder for discard things like Spacey Sketcher and Get Excited and some treasure. It does it all. It gives you multiple cards for Vi level up. I mean, for Vi triggers, it gives you 2 different named cards for Zoe. Like, I want to see this in almost every single opening hand.
Yeah, Bot's one of my favorite cards. If Sketcher's one of yours,
it's fantastic.
Ballistic Bot I love. I like Easy Draven. Obviously, Bot's great there. Yeah, the card just does work. You know, it's good early game. It gets really big in attacks, gives you fodder, pings. I like pinging my opponents to death. Always a good time.
Yeah, it feels nice.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, I have 2 bots, so I'm just gonna keep casting these ignitions, and
Getcha.
you're probably going to die.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Next up, another one of my favorites, the Mountain Goat.
Yeah, Mountain Goat. Mountain Goat is just like in my mind, like just the quintessential 2-drop in the game right now. It's just so good. It's a 3/2, which is like the stats you're looking for in a 2-drop. So it trades up, and it gets a gem on strike, which is fantastic. Goat, you usually play it and trade it off as fast as possible. You want the gem because the deck needs the discard fodder. I will literally never mulligan my first Mountain Goat ever. If I have a Mountain Goat in my hand, I'm keeping it. The only reason I mulligan one is if I already have another one in my hand.
Yeah, just always good. Like you say, always trades up, stops basically anything coming in early, and then basically always gets that gem. Even against a deck like TLC, you'll still drop it on 2 and hit them and get the gem.
Get the gem.
Yeah,
Yep.
does everything you want. Why do you want all that fodder?
Yep.
For our next card, Sump
Dredgers. Yep. 2 of 4/3 for 3. Play, discard a card to draw one. It's the Rummage on a Stick. This card's been around for bits in Ezreal Draven. I love this card. That 4th point of power and the 3rd toughness is a big deal. You trade with things like Ruin Runner. And with a deck like this, most of our removal spells are damage based, and then we have 3 Hush. We'll get into that later. We have Pale Cascades. You really want your opponent to have to act first. Because if you have to block and throw something at them to like kill their unit, you're going to get blown out by pump spells like Sharp Sight or whatever, Troll Chant. But if you force your opponent to act first, then you get to blow them out with your like Mystic Shot after they do the thing, right? And the 4th point of power here is really important for that.
Yeah, totally agree. One of my favorite cards, again, also an easy Draven. So big. A lot. Does so much for 3. On turn 3, love it. It's so much. The biggest thing on the board typically on turn 3. And then even like late game, you have all the fodder, you're just digging for whatever you need. Fantastic. And in this deck, it almost does like 3 mana draw card. It's 3 mana 4/3 draw card.
It's literally what it is.
Yeah, which is insane.
You're going to have something to discard.
Yeah.
Even if it's not like the best thing, you discard like a Zoe, super cool star charts, or like a Spacey Sketcher. Like that's not like a free card like Ignition or a Gem would be, but it's close enough. Totally. Or maybe you discard Mystic Shot in a matchup where it's not very good. Like I love Sump Dredger. Real quick, I know people are going to be like, hey, isn't Rummage really good in this deck? You have a lot of discard fodder. Don't you want to be drawing free cards? And you just don't have that much discard fodder. Yeah. You're already using it so much. You don't have something like Draven Ezreal does, that's constantly going to give you like multiple. Even the turn you play a Draven, you get like 2 axes. This deck doesn't have that. So like 1 per turn you can do, but anything more than that, it doesn't really work out. So Rummage often ends up being like, okay, I discard my 1 Ignition and then 1 real card, and I would rather not have that.
Yeah, very good point. Next up, we have Solari Priestess.
Yep, this is the Swiss Army knife of Targon. Like, this card does it all. Do you need threats? Okay, grab Sisters. Do you want to go late game? Grab Traveler, and then you have Meteor Shower and Comet for the removal. Like, this card is awesome, but it stats up. 1, 2 for 3, not fantastic. So you play it and you like, I don't know, hope to get a decent block. Usually you just chump block at some point. But yeah, this, like we said, this deck is a pile of good cards, and this is one of those cards that really makes it good because you can pick what you need for each situation. I see people cut this from the list, and I don't think that's a good idea. I really like this card.
Yeah, another card just very, very good. Has always been kind of a staple in Targon decks. Like you say, it just gets absolutely anything. You get Comet, kill anything, get Sisters, maybe like one of the best threats in the game. Yeah, card's great. You feel like an absolute champion anytime you get to block like a 3/1 or a 4/1 or something with it. You're like, oh
my
max
God,
value.
Yeah. You just trade with Spirit Leech and you're like,
got him.
So good.
Okay, next up we got
the Fangs.
The Fangs. I know one of your favorite cards.
Yeah, I love this card. I was so excited when this card got spoiled. I was like, this is it, man. This is for me. 4 mana, 3/2 with Lifesteal. Play, invoke a Celestial that costs 3 or less. You guys already know how I feel about the Celestials that cost 3 or less. And I love Lifesteal. anything that gains me life, I am about. It gains you life and it draws you a card. Like what else could you possibly want?
Yeah, right.
The 4-mana 3/2 is pretty small, but you can still trade up pretty easily with it. And if I block a 3-drop with, like, if I trade with a Sump Treasure with this, I'm so happy, right? Because I'm like up a card, I gain some life, I got a trade. Like, yeah, play 3. This card's awesome.
Yeah, and as we'll talk about later, like this deck is really, it's not like a hard control deck like TLC where you're just gonna grind them out until they're done. It's more like kind of like a semi-control deck, soft control, where you're kind of touching, you're trying to trade advantageously, you're trying to slow them down to get to the late game and then have a big finish. And Fangs does a good job of that by like dealing some damage to something, sucking up some damage, gaining some health to negate other parts of the attack, and then of course getting you more gas. The next card on the list, very interesting, is a kitty driving a submarine.
Yep, we got Submersible. 5 mana, 1/5 elusive. When someone draw one, if you play 10 cards with different names, grant +4/+0. This card is just like, people either love it or hate it. I'm still kind of on the fence about it. It's good, but oftentimes it's not quite what you need. It's just like another card to get damage through. It's just another late game card. Like, you play a 5/5 elusive that draws you a card for 5 on turn 10, and that's pretty good. It's pretty easy to activate the effect later in the game. Like, very easy. But until then, it's just not fantastic. The thing with this deck you have to understand is that this deck plays a lot like the Invoke Atrocity decks that we used to see, like the Zoe, Diana, and stuff like that. But without the atrocity. So you generally deal more damage through the rest of the game than that deck, with things like Ballistic Bot attacking with your Sump Dredgers, Vi flipping maybe. And then you need to get like 7-8 more damage, and then you burn them out. So 2 hits with Submersible can really like close that gap, because that's how it works. You do some damage, you do 5 damage, whatever, and then maybe you hit once with the Great Beyond, and then you throw Mystic Shots at their face until they die. That's kind of how the deck plays out. And Submersible is just like another one of those effects.
Yeah, a lot of lists running 2 of them. It's a interesting card. Like, I've died to a Submersible many times coming in, just couldn't do anything about it. It's so big and elusive, like, just makes it real hard to deal with. But at the same time, when I play the deck, I've had them in my hand, just been like, this is doing nothing.
It's raw, yeah.
Yeah. So we got one.
Go ahead. Yeah. A lot of lists running 2 and 2 iterative improvements. I used to be on that list, but the format I feel is too fast. I'm playing against a lot of things like Overwhelm, where I really just can't afford to wait that long, which is why I have like 4 3-drops, where most of these lists don't have that many.
Right. Yeah, I like this list. We'll go over all the other options that you can play afterwards as well. I know that was something that people asked us for in the last video. Okay, so that's all of our units. And now we'll go over to our spells, starting with 3 Thermogenic Beam.
3 Thermo Beam. Kind of a catch-all. Kills something. However much you need it to die for. This card is, like, I think undervalued in this deck. It's like very good, but what this deck does is it plays so mana efficiently. Since you have so many options and you can discard things, and you have all these 1 mana spells and these like small removal spells and stuff, like our unit list caps out at 4 and we have 1 5-drop. Like, this deck is very mana efficient.
Yeah.
So you can Thermo Beam on any turn for practically exactly as much as you want every single time, which is why I really like it. It makes it like one of the more efficient removal spells.
Yeah, I think it's undervalued in general, but especially in this deck. Like you say, like, thinking back, I'm like, oh yeah, whenever I play against this deck, they Thermo Beam me for the exact amount, like, every single time. I'm always like,
every single time.
That's convenient. But yeah, it makes sense that, like, you have stuff to do for basically any mana price point, so you're always going to be able to do that. Yeah, good call.
Yeah, does require some planning. I will say, I don't think we've talked about this. I think this is probably the hardest deck in the format to pilot at a high level right now.
Yes.
The reason being, you have so many choices every single turn.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's both a plus and a minus, right? It's a barrier to entry, and that's going to take you a while to learn how to play it properly. But if you do master it, then it will reward you for that time and effort that you put into it, as we've seen Steve Rubin and others show us as they crush the ladder. Okay, next up we got one Poro Cannon. Talk to me about this. Well, we got one Poro Cannon. Is Poro Cannon.
I like this card. You have a lot of cards to discard. We talked about this. This is just like I don't want to die to aggro. Like if someone gets off to a start, like Poro Cannon gives you 2 blockers for 2 mana essentially. It also makes your ballistic bots huge.
Right.
Like if you ever go bot Poro Cannon away one of the ignitions and just play the Poros, like you're attacking for insane amounts of damage. So yeah, I mean, I like the flexibility of this card. It's nice. If you hate, like if you draw it and it sucks, you could just discard it. So like whatever, but it's often better than you think it will be.
Yeah. It's so funny because when you first look at it, you're like, they're 2 1/1s to attack with. I guess that's the reason, right? But it actually has all kinds of other use cases where, like you say, you need to stop early aggression. Maybe you need to stop a gigantic elusive unit. Maybe you need to like get a little bit more chip damage in. Maybe you need 2 other things to go with Zoe Vi or Submersible. It just ends up like doing a bunch of work that you never would have thought of. Great deck building.
Yeah,
love it.
So I like 1. I don't know if you could talk me into 2, but I definitely like 1 over 0.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, next up we have a Mystic Shot, the staple, all around good removal card.
Do we need to really explain?
Card is good.
Card.
2 mana, 2 damage, fast spell.
Kills things.
Excellent.
Been played in every PNZ deck since the beginning of time.
Literally, I think that you have to pay some sort of fine if you choose to not play Mystic Shot in your PNZ deck. Like when you open up Runeterra.
Discard aggro is like the only one I can think of.
Yeah, actually, that's fair. And even then, I've seen lists that have run like 1.
Sunday run 1, yeah. But like Get Excited's just actually better because they want to discard the card.
Yeah.
But yeah, 3 Mystic Shot, good card.
Good card. Next up, 2 Pale Cascade.
2 Pales, not 3. You don't do a ton of combat trading. You do, but you don't. And you don't like need to save your units from damage-based removal very often because you don't care about them.
Yeah.
Like if you look at every single unit we have, all of them generate value.
Yeah, none of them are particularly good units. None of them are like, oh, I gotta stick this and just ride it to victory.
We have a bunch of 1/2s and 3/2s. Like they don't do anything. Their value comes from what they gain when you play them, cast them, or when they do their thing like Ballistic Bot or Go, right? And so you don't need like the full set of Pale Cascades. They do end up clogging your hand up. I do like 2 because like keeping Zoe alive through Vile Feast, pumping up Vi a little bit more, like all these things are really nice. Plus they cycle and you want to be casting these cards with different names for Zoe and Submersible, and you just want to be casting cards for Vi. So like the cycling effect's nice. I like 2.
Yeah, love it. Next up, 3 Hush.
3 Hush. I play this deck mostly to beat Thresh-Nasus. Like your triple Hush deck, you have a bunch of removal and good blockers for their early units, their early aggression. And then you close the game out with your Priestess looking for Comet. You have Hush for the Nasus. You have Vi for the Thresh. And then triple Star Shaping to really slam the door. So I definitely would not cut one of the Hushes as long as Thresh-Nasus is still in the format. This is like one of the matchups you're kind of hoping to get. And if you start shaving Hushes, I think you lose a lot of points in that matchup. Like a lot more than you think for just trimming 1 card. Because the games go on so long and it becomes solely about whether or not you can deal with their Nasus when it hits the field.
Yeah, and then you do have things like Spacey Sketcher and Sump Dredger, and Poro Cannon.
Yeah, if it's bad, you just discard it.
Get Excited, even our next card on the list. You have a lot of things you can discard too if you like maybe draw too many or you just don't need them.
Yeah. Get Excited, only 2. It's a good card and everything, but like we do have only so much discard fodder. You don't want to be overtaxed with it. So I think 2 is a good spot. You do need a little bit more like efficient removal, and Get Excited kind of fills that fills that niche. You could play something like Aftershock, but I like the fast speed a lot. So yeah, we're on to get excited here.
Yeah, also gives the deck some reach, as you were saying earlier. A lot of times you end up burning them out at the end for those last few points of damage. And then we have kind of strange to see a deck that has like burn, 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 and then we have Star Shaping.
Star Shaping, 3 copies. Yep, this is our end game. Star Shaping's our win condition. Like I mentioned before, you'll often Star Shaping, grab a Great Beyond, hit him once, burn him out. Like that's how the deck wins. You will notice that just about every card in this deck is like a 2-for-1 of some sort, outside of a lot of the removal spells. And so like you can grind out your opponents. That's how you win a lot of matchups. Like we'll get into that later, but that's how you win a lot of matchups is you like 2-for-1 them. This is just how you close the door. It gains you the life against aggro. It gives you the big beaters against like the ASOL decks. It can get you that supernova against like Threshnasus that you really need. It's just a great card. 3 of them. Got to play 3.
Card's insane. How many games can you think of where you were playing against Targon and you're like, oh, I got him up against the ropes. They're really low on health. And they're like, Star Shaping, gain 5, drop some huge fat thing you can't deal with. Good game. You're like,
come on, I lose. Man, sick.
Yeah. Okay, well, those are all the cards. Let's talk a little bit about, like how the deck functions as a whole. So, like, individually, like we're saying, a lot of the cards are quite weak. And when you look at it, you're like, how do I kill them with any of these things? It's because your units don't really do a whole lot of beating down. If you can get some good damage in with them, though, you want to. It makes your life a lot easier. Then you just need, like, one hit with a Great Beyond or something, rather than, like, multiple things happening. Yeah. Zoe Flip, also another way the deck wins.
Just probably going to win you the game. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you could make that happen, excellent. Vi going unanswered for too long could just mop up a board, especially when you can, like, Pale Cascade or Star Shaping.
Star Shaping her, yeah. I've Star Shaping my own Vi quite a bit.
Yeah.
Comes up.
Yeah, she's tough to kill, and so people will throw multiple resources at her, and often they'll have to do it sequentially. So somewhere in there, they deal some damage, and then you Star Shaping again, and then
you heal and get them.
They start all over, yeah. And like you said, though, the deck is really about just generating a bunch of card advantage and kind of just keeping your opponent at bay while, like, you're, presenting threats while also simultaneously dealing with your opponent's threats. It's kind of like this little dance that you're doing. It's different in each matchup. And then Star Shaping typically being, like, your big finisher, like you said, to finish them off. The skill portion comes from knowing what to do when, because like you were saying, like everything's so mana efficient. A lot of the deck is very cheap. Like, look at this, like 1 drops, 2 drops, 3 drops. Like the deck almost caps out at 3 mana. The only things that cost more than 3 are like the Fangs, and then 1 Submersible, Vi, and Star Shaping. So,
and you're not casting Star Shaping on like 5 anyway.
No. So. And also, Submersible doesn't come down until a little bit later. Vi's.
And you have 1,
also, like, a little bit later.
Vi's pretty much only, like, 5 drop.
Yeah. So, like, most of the deck costs 3 or less. So, literally from turn 1, you're just going to have a bunch of different options. And then it just, like, gets more and more difficult. And knowing when you want to be aggressive, when you want to be defensive, what actually matters in the matchup, all of these things are what make the deck very difficult to play, but also, gives you that edge because you have so much game in any matchup. Any other thoughts on sort of the deck as a whole or how the pieces go together? I feel like
Nope, that's basically it.
Yeah.
For like that, we'll get into matchup specific things, but don't let what we're saying those scare you off of trying the deck. It's a good deck, it's strong, and if you're willing to put in the time, it will pay off.
That's right. Yeah, it's a lot of fun too, being able to play like
it's so much fun.
Removal
if you're looking
spells.
For like a break from the like normal meta, run this. It's a great time.
Yeah, it does all kinds of weird stuff, all kinds of really interesting interactions that are really unique to this deck. Okay, let's jump into the matchups now. Let's start with Threshnasus. So we touched on it a little bit.
One.
Yeah. I'll talk a little bit from being the Threshnasus player. I absolutely hate playing this matchup. It's really, really tough Those 3 hushes are just like, man. Trying to kill them early is really difficult as a Threshnasus player because they've got Ballistic Bots, Spacey Sketchers, Mountain Goats, Slump Dredgers, bunch of removal, right? So they have all this early interaction, especially the burn. You'll kill their units, the Threshnasus players' units, and then they won't have all the slays and stuff to kind of get their deck going. And then they have Hush later on. It's a bit of a nightmare matchup. And the only real way that I win is just by blitzing the crap out of them really early, dropping a bunch of units onto the board fast. It's the only way I've ever been able to really win. How do you see it from the Zoe Vi side?
Yeah, I mean, it feels definitely nice because your blockers line up very well against their attackers. Your blockers and removal line up very well. The key turn is like the Thresh turn. If they play Thresh and you can like kill it, you're probably just going to win the game. But if you can't, it gets really tough because then the Nasus are going to start coming out. They can grab your units and stuff. And like none of your units outside of Vi can actually trade with a Thresh. So yeah, if they play like you have to be prepared for that in the matchup. You got to be ready. And then after that, so once you pass the Thresh turn, the matchup solely revolves around Nasus. If you find ways to deal with Nasus, you win the game. If you don't find ways to deal with Nasus, you lose the game. And that sounds like, oh, well, I don't want to just like have to get lucky and find ways to deal with Nasus. That's not really how it works. You just have to plan like really far ahead. Like if you Starlight Priestess on 3 and you see like a really good meteor shower, but also you can grab Comet. Like a lot of times you just have to grab Comet. Like, okay, I grab Comet. That's one way to deal with Nasus, right? Or Thresh. I can probably deal with the rest of the things on board because like my deck's very good at that. So you take Comet for late game insurance. And then, yeah, once you get to that point, they play their second Nasus and you have like Hush, Comet, Star Shaping. And you're like, like, how do I want to remove it this time? So yeah, I like the matchup for Zoe Vi a lot.
Yeah, and so Vi and Thermogenic Beam are some of the good answers to Thresh, right? You're kind of like keeping those.
Those are like the main ones.
Yeah, so like turn 5 even, like if it's your attack, are you just like passing to them?
I just pass, yeah.
If you have a Vi in hand.
Unless I like have to, right?
In hand, yeah.
Yeah, especially if the board's like decently sized. If you both have like 3 creatures on the board and they can play Thresh, you just like can't. You just have to like wait. If you don't have a way to deal with it, then it's like it's totally okay to like play Priestess and look for one. But if you have like Vi or Thermo Beam and you can kill it on like when it comes down, you usually just have to pass there.
Yeah, fair enough. Timing with this deck, exceptionally important with any deck, but with this one, knowing exactly what your opponent's going to be doing, like what's going to trouble you, like in this case Thresh, and then how you're going to counter that. You can't just be throwing your spells out willy-nilly. You have to have a plan.
Yep.
Okay. Next up, how is the Aurelia Azir matchup?
Not bad. Not bad. I would say it's probably 50-50 since the nerfs. Okay. Maybe slightly worse, but not that much worse. Like I wouldn't go any lower than 45-55. Your removal spells line up very well against everything whose name doesn't rhyme with Schmazir. Like Mystic Shot, Get Excited, Hush, like these are all the Thermo Beam, like they're all really good against like Aurelia, Sparring Student, the Voice of the Risen, and then you have things like Vi to deal with like Azir. Homecoming's not super good against you except for specifically Vi because all your units are so cheap and a lot of them have ETB effects that you want. You're usually not getting ran over by like Sparring Student because you have so many cheap units like Spacey Sketcher and stuff, and it's so easy for you to find Equinox.
Right.
Which is, by the way, what I recommend you search for. I recommend you search for Equinox and Serpent usually, because Serpent can generally trade with things on your attack or block if you need to. And Equinox deals with a real big problem units like Greenglade Duo, Sparring Student, and Voice of the Risen. And then, yeah, a lot of the matchup comes down to Azir. If you can kill Azir, it gets real easy. And if you can't, it's pretty tough.
Nice. Yeah, I kind of just assumed that the matchup wasn't good. I don't know, just because it seems like, when you look at the deck, it's like, again, it's a pile of cards. So I'm like, oh, it probably just gets run over or whatever. But that's interesting to know that it's that close. And it makes sense, when you break it down. Okay, next up we have TLC.
TLC can be a little bit tough. Like we talked about before, your units are not large. Pretty much your entire cast of units is avalancheable, which is rough. It sucks to play Fangs on 4 and they just like kill your Fangs in your goat with an avalanche. And you're like, word. Like this sucks.
Sad.
Yeah, and then they're just gonna save their vengeances or their frostbites for things like Vi and your star shaping targets. So that's really tough. You can, however, delay a Watcher kill for like a really long time. If you start preparing for it on like turn 1, with your super cool star charts, look for things like Equinox, your Crescent Strikes, because you have Zoe, Spacey, and the Fangs, which gives you looks for Equinox and Crescent. And you can even look for like Comet with Priestess and stuff. So you can delay the Watcher kill like for a long time. The problem is that you can't put very much pressure on them. Sometimes you do, and it usually involves Ballistic Bot, but usually it's really tough for you to put a bunch of pressure on them. And then they can just wait till they craft like the perfect hand and then they kill you. So the matchup's not fantastic. It's not horrible, but it's definitely not good.
Yeah, definitely not favorable. But I've definitely playing TLC. I've definitely lost to some big star shaping or priestess targets.
Usually star shaping.
Yeah, just get you.
Yeah.
Okay, and then next up, I think we have aggro decks. So like the discard aggro, spiders, burn,
nightfall. Very good for us. This deck has more 1-drops than most aggro decks. You have 3 Zoe, 3 Spacey Sketchers, 1 Poro Cannon, and 3 Thermo Beams. Like, you have a lot of things to do on turn 1. And your deck's just so efficient. And anytime you back up efficient removal with good blockers and life gain, it's so tough for aggro. Like, if you pick 2 of those 3 things, aggro's having a hard time. But we have 3. We have all of it. We have efficient removal, we have fantastic blockers, and we have a lot of lifesteal. We have the Fangs and star shaping, which is more than most decks. So yeah, I want to sit across from spiders or something like every time. Discard aggro can be tough sometimes if you can't deal with the Jinx. So instead of thermo beaming like Draven or something, a lot of times you just have to not and just block and just wait. Because if you let Jinx hit the board and stay there, you're gonna have a rough time.
Yeah, fair enough. Exactly right. What more do you want than removal, life gain, and super efficient fast creatures? Like that's like literally the mix you want against aggro, like you said. With Spacey's, with the Sketchers, like what are you looking for against the aggro decks? Like what are you going to get?
It really does depend on the aggro decks. Serpent is like universally good. Because a 0 mana blocker that trades with like everything is fantastic. You can attack things. You can combine it with like Gem to deal with Draven and Jinx, which is really nice. Against spiders, you really just want anything that can block Fearsome. So I'll often look for like Charger. Crescent Strike can be really good. Equinox, depending on the matchup, can be fantastic. If I'm like not really worried about like maybe my discard aggro opponent's going wide, I'll take like an Equinox, because I'm scared of crowd favorite if I don't have like a Hush in hand, right? So it's really situation dependent, as with all these Celestials, which, like we pointed out before, is why the deck is so tough, such a high skill ceiling. But yeah, the Serpent, like you pretty much can't ever go wrong taking Serpent, I would say.
The amount of value you can get out of it, or the use cases, are like almost never ending. Whenever I see some of the top players playing it, the different situations they get out of using Serpent, or they're able to make happen with Serpent, are just like absolutely shocking. It like levels up your Zoe, your Submersible, your Vi. It blocks things that need blocking. It goes after, like, finishes off a unit when you throw in like a Get Excited or a Mystic Shot or something, or on its own. Card's just good. Does all kinds of work.
Also, all the created cards from like Zoe, Spacey Sketcher, Fangs, they all activate Augment on your Ballistic Bot.
Right.
So your bots can get real big very fast.
Very, very big. I've definitely stared down a huge Ballistic Bot with my Nasus before, being like, this is not okay. This is not, can't attack into it because it's too big.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens quite often. Okay. Last, we'll talk about maybe some Acel
Oh,
decks.
we got a couple more. Yeah, like I can go through some pretty quick ones.
Okay.
Like Draven Ezreal.
Right.
It's a very good matchup for us because we're basically Draven Ezreal with star shaping. Like it's the same kind of thing. Play things to give you 2-for-1s. Have a finisher. Our finisher is just way better than theirs. Like they have Farron, but we have star shaping.
Got Tri-Beam, baby.
They do have Tri-Beam. That's true. That is the only way you actually lose the matchup.
Yeah.
Is if they just like have 2 Tri-Beams in their opener and they just like get you.
Which I always do.
Otherwise, it's very, very good for us. Your Hushes is only used for Ezreal and Farron, and then you just keep things off the board and you eventually win. It's hard for them to remove your stuff like Vi, and it's hard for them to kill it like efficiently without wasting multiple cards. And all your removal, besides like Mystic Shot, kills pretty much everything they have. So that's a good matchup. The Acel decks are tough because your removal doesn't kill anything. Like Mystic Shot, get excited, look pretty bad when you're staring down like Screeching Dragon, Solaris Sunforger. So that's not good. Your units are just like far outclassed in terms of like size. And then their late game is just better than yours because they just play Acel and you like can't kill him. And even if you do, you're down 2 cards, not counting the one that like, because you have to like Hush Comet it, right? Which sucks. And then they still have like the Great Beyond or the Supernova that they picked up from Acel anyway. Plus they're probably ahead on tempo. The matchup's tough for that reason. Like if the deck didn't have Acel, you would win. But it does. And so eventually you just lose. The way you win is chipping in damage, getting a big elusive threat, hitting them, and then ending the game with burn usually.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just like a slightly bigger version of like the same sort of deck. Like it's not not like exactly the same, but the Targon version parts, they just do bigger Targon things.
Any other? What other ones we have? We have like Overwhelm is tough because your removal's like
small,
not fantastic against them.
Yeah,
it's small. Yeah, and you just have to sit there with like Hush open forever. Because you're like, well, if they Battle Fury me, I lose. Like for the entire game. Ruin Runner's the house. That matchup is, I love Sump Dredger in that matchup because it's like one of the only things that threatens to trade with like Ruin Runner, Renekton, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that matchup can be pretty tough. And that's about it.
It's a lot of them. That's like a big chunk.
Yeah.
Of the meta, definitely a lot of the more popular decks. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to some mulligans.
Let's do it.
Let's go. Okay, now we are gonna do some mulligans, some practice mulligans. First up, well, I guess we'll do the same sort of order. We'll pretend like we were playing against Thresh Nasus. Let's go. Reroll full hand. Okay. So
I like that other hand though.
Okay, against Thresh Nasus, we have Mystic Shot, Ballistic Bot, Sump Dredger, and Spacey Sketcher. What are your thoughts?
So you have to plan for kind of the worst against Thresh Nasus with their opener. Like I have to assume that my opponent is going to go Reaper, Cursed Keeper into Butcher like every game. That's just what I think in my head. So what we're not going to do anything turn 1. Turn 2, we'll have to like if there's a we'll probably play like we'd like to play bot, but if their start is super fast, we can't afford to play bot. So that's something to keep in mind. I think my mulligan will be Mulligan Sump Dredger and keep the rest because that's kind of like what we want to do. We want to get on the field with bot, get the ignition, trade it away for free with Spacey Sketcher, use the Mystic Shot on a Reaper or a Butcher or anything, and then eventually get there with our other cards.
That makes sense.
That's my thought process.
Yeah. Okay, so we got
Pale Cascade.
We got Pale Cascade. So we end up with Mystic Shot, Ballistic Bot, Pale Cascade, Spacey Sketcher. So the hand doesn't look good like on paper, but like I feel like this is like this hand would like kind of work out. Okay, like I don't hate
it. Would and then hit like reroll full hand. This will be like our next 4 draws. Like
compared to that,
pretty good. You know, it's pretty good. It just gives you a bunch more like options and stuff. So it like the deck works out like that. Your opening hands tend to look like a little sparse. But I really like to mulligan for those like early game interaction because the game is the deck is so good about just like continuing to give you value
Right.
that I don't really worry about that part
Yeah.
in most matchups.
Yeah, you want to just make sure that you are up and running and that you don't get run over.
Exactly.
So this hand,
Exactly.
we have Thermogenic Beam, Poro Cannon, Vi, and Solari Priestess. So a lot slower.
Yeah, this one's interesting. I like the Thermo Beam and the Vi, and I could be talked into keeping Poro Cannon, but I don't think we really need to. And I don't really want to keep Priestess because I really want to draw a 2-mana card, like Goat.
So what's your thinking here, keeping the Vi?
Vi kills Thresh on turn 5. And as I mentioned before, that's like the key turn, is the Thresh killing turn. Thermo Beam also kills Thresh, but it's a little less efficient, and it can kill anything else.
Yeah.
So like maybe we whiff on 2-drops, right? Well, I can kill the 4/3 from Curse Keeper on turn 2 if I have to. So I'm definitely keeping Thermo Beam here. Poro Cannon like could be really good. Maybe if they go like they have like Dune Keeper and Fading Icon and Spirit Leech, then like Poro Cannon's really good. But I don't want to take the chance that their hand isn't just like, again, remember I said I always think about Thresh Nasus, their hand is Reaper, Curse Keeper, Butcher. Like we have to plan for that because it's going to happen to you a lot. And Poro Cannon is not very good against that hand. It gives us blockers, but like I'd really rather have like a Mountain Goat.
Yeah, okay. So we'll keep Vi and Thermogenic Beam, and we'll get Spacey Sketcher Zoe.
I'm pretty happy about that.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. If you're, just hope to get like Zoe. Get Zoe in there. Discard the super cool Spacey Sketcher like we talked about. Like, and all of a sudden you have tons of options.
Nice. Okay, third hand, we have Star Shaping, Mountain Goat, Vi, Spacey Sketcher.
We definitely mulligan Star Shaping. I think the only decision here is whether or not we mulligan Spacey Sketcher. And I think we do. Like we'll probably get the gem from Goat. It's really close. You definitely could keep it. We're definitely gonna get the gem from Goat. So we could keep the Spacey Sketcher, but we also run 3. And we have a lot of other like discard outlets. So I would very much like to draw some kind of like Mystic Shock, Get Excited, Thermo Beam, something like that. I don't know. It's really close. I think you could do both and be like totally okay with either.
Okay, well, let's throw it back, see what happens. We keep the Mountain Goat and the Vi, and we get Hush and the Fangs.
Well, now I wish we'd have kept Spacey Sketcher for something to do on turn 3. But like this hand's not bad.
Yeah, you draw something, draw a little bit of interaction, like a Mystic Shot off the top or something, or Thermo Beam.
That's really what I wanted, was one piece of interaction.
Yeah.
Because if we need to start killing stuff on board and we just can't or whatever.
Yeah.
Feels pretty bad.
Again, though, most of the deck
Goat is so good.
Goat's very good.
So good.
Yeah. Fangs doing a little bit of work here too to try to pull you back into the game.
Oh yeah, a ton of work. It trades with everything besides Thresh and Nasus, so I'm very happy with the Fangs. I don't want to see Hush this early. But I'm never mad to have one.
Yeah.
So like if we like, in the next 3 turns, draw one piece of interaction, I think we're in really good shape.
Sounds good. Okay, next up we have Aurelia Azir. We get Poro Cannon and 3 goats.
I would mulligan 2 goats and keep the rest.
Oh, poor goats.
Poro Cannon blocks their elusive threats, and if it doesn't do that, it just blocks other things. And you need the blockers against this deck, so pretty happy to keep this. Things we're looking for are our removal spells, Mystic Shock, Get Excited, Thermo Beam, and Vi. We found Vi. Spacey Sketcher, also nice. There's a solid chance we get multiple gems off this goat. And Spacey Sketcher can find us Equinox or Serpent like we talked about before.
Yeah, and Vi, how important is it to have Vi to try to kill an Azir? It's something that you actively want?
It's very nice. It's very nice. I'm pretty happy about having Vi. She also blocks really well. She also kills Voice of the Risen. The problem is like playing Vi and getting Homecoming is often a route to just losing the game. Because it's such a big, like, that's your whole turn.
Right.
And this deck thrives off casting 2, 3, 4 spells a turn. And when you can only cast 1 and it gets bounced, it's very bad.
Gotcha. Okay. So
good hand, though.
Yeah, so Poro Cannon, Mountain Goat, Spacey Sketcher, and Vi ends up being our hand. Was that our first hand or our second hand?
That was our first Aurelia Azir hand.
Okay, next Aurelia Azir hand, we have Zoe, Spacey Sketcher, Mountain Goat, Sump Dredger.
We're definitely keeping Mountain Goat and Zoe. The question is, what else do we want? I'm leaning towards keeping Spacey Sketcher, because if we're going the Zoe route, finding a Serpent or an Equinox to deal with the elusive threats is really nice, because then we can keep plugging with Zoe. I'd probably mulligan Sump Dredger. The reason being, we're keeping an all unit hand, and we really need to find some kind of interaction.
Yeah.
Like keeping Spacey Sketcher, I think, is a little greedy, because if they play like Aurelia or Azir and we can't deal with it, we're going to be in trouble.
Well, let's be greedy.
Let's do it.
Oh, we got Mountain Goat number 2.
We got 3 more draws. We'll be okay. We'll make it.
Okay.
We'll get there.
Third hand against Aurelia Azir, we have Ballistic Bot, 2 Ballistic Bots, Sump Dredger, Mountain Goat.
We're keeping Goat. We're definitely mulliganing 1 bot. I think we also mulligan Sump Dredger for the same reason as the last hand. The only thing, though, is it's really nice to go like either of those 2 drops into Sump Dredger.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're going to do that, I think we need to mulligan one of the other 2 drops in favor of searching for removal.
Right.
What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's really nice getting the gem or the ignition and then going Sump Dredger on 3. But we're still going to keep 1, right? So we're still going to have something discarded to the Sump Dredger. So how good is bot in the matchup? That's the real question.
It's fine. It's not like fantastic. I actually almost never keep Sump Dredger in this deck. Because like this sounds like a great curve, like 2 into 3.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, we like cap at 4.
Yeah.
So Sump Dredger's on the expensive side. So I usually mulligan it in favor of cheaper things. Like I'm hoping to find a Zoe. I'd really like a Mystic Shot. Thermo Beam would be awesome. You know, that kind of stuff. So I think I'd mulligan Sump Dredger.
And then would you keep the bot?
I think that's fine. You could keep bot or mulligan it. I could go either way here.
For the third one, let's go for the greedier reroll. Sure. So we're keeping the 1 Mountain Goat, putting everything back, and we end up with 2 Mountain Goats, Pale Cascade, Star Shaping.
Not awesome.
Yikes.
We whiffed pretty hard on the removal we were searching for. Now, we do have a lot of it, so good chance we'll find some.
Yeah, this hand is very disjointed, though, because Star Shaping doing almost nothing until way later in the game, and Pale Cascade not super exciting with what we have currently. We're going to cycle it, maybe. So this is, when you look at this hand, I'd be like, I'm in trouble. I'm in a decent amount of trouble.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
You know, I need to draw something really quick, or hope my opponent, like, just doesn't have anything.
Yeah, and so that's, like, a good example of sort of, like, the pluses minuses of being greedy or being too greedy. Like sometimes it pays off and they're like you just get this busted draw, and sometimes you're like, man, if I had just kept like maybe like if this Pale Cascade was a bot or something, like we might be, or if this Star Shaping was a bot, we might be in a slightly better spot when you get like.
I would rather have Pale Cascade than bot in this hand.
Yeah,
because we have to find removal spells. Removal spells, even like Spacey Sketcher or like Fangs, to find maybe Serpent, like or Equinox, like we have to find something. We have enough 2 drops. I think if we change this Pale Cascade out for bot, I'm like really scared.
What if the second Goat's a bot? Does it make a difference?
Then I'm pretty happy, because with the gems and the ignitions, you can make a very threatening bot really quickly. And the deck doesn't block bot super well.
Fair enough.
Like, so yes, we had that combination in our original opening hand, but I feel like the average card is better than another 2 drop in that situation.
Yeah.
But because of the way our hand panned out, I would rather have a bot instead of a second Goat.
Yeah, very good to note that like sometimes you make the correct decision and you it doesn't work out. But like that doesn't mean you shouldn't be
doesn't make it wrong.
Exactly.
It just means it Yeah.
So something to keep in mind when you're trying to be analytical about your mulligans and stuff. Like sometimes you make the right play and you lose, but you need to understand that what you're doing is correct or not correct to begin with. Okay, so next up we have TLC, and we have just the hand you want against TLC: Thermo Beam, 2 Mystic Shot, and Get Excited. A bunch of removal against a deck that doesn't really play any units. So
full mull, ship it all.
full mull, it's okay. We got this. No big deal.
We're the beat down. We have to actually beat down at some point.
Boom.
Much better.
There you go. We got Zoe, Spacey Sketcher, Mountain Goat, Sump Dredger. That's a hand that beats.
Yeah, you're hoping they don't have Vile Feast because you really want to force them to avalanche just like a Zoe and maybe like a Spacey Sketcher or something, and then you can lead with, then you can start developing your other threats. You really need to not overcommit into avalanche unless you like absolutely have to. So yeah, this hand is not bad at all.
Yeah, still not still not amazing because one avalanche wipes out most of what you got going on. But
unfortunately, it's about as good as it gets.
Yeah, and also a lot
TLC.
better than the 4 removal spell dot hand, which is definitely never ever winning.
Yeah, the card that would make this perfect is a Pale Cascade.
Okay.
To protect from one of the AoE spells, and that's about it.
Yeah. Okay, third hand against TLC. Vi, 2 Spacey Sketchers, and Thermogenic Beam.
Full mulligan.
Really, you're not keeping the Vi?
Nope.
So what exactly, like, what are we looking for? You like the last hand?
Bots, goats, and Zoes.
Bots, goats, and Zoes. Okay.
Bot is often the best card against TLC, just period, because Avalanche can't kill it. Like Avalanche, Blight Ravine. The only card that straight kills bot is Vengeance or Ruination, and they're not going to do that. So they have to do multiple AoE removal spells or like an Avalanche plus a Vile Feast to kill your bot. And they're going to have to do that because bot gets so big.
Yeah.
And so if you can get a bot or 2 bots on the field, this is why some people play Iterative Improvement in the deck. It's really good in this matchup. If you can get bot on the field, you want to make sure that you're not trading bot for their units. Like if they play a Kindly Tavern Keeper, please, dear God, do not attack bot and do it. Like kill it with your removal spell. Find a Serpent off Spacey Sketcher and drag it out of the way. Like bot is one of the best threats you have against TLC. And so, yeah, we're mulliganing very hard. And obviously, like, Goat's really good because it can force an avalanche out all on its own and stuff.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so we reroll and we get the Fangs, Mystic Shot, Pale Cascade, Vi. Bit of a womp womp.
Yeah, it's not the worst hand ever, but it's pretty bad.
How's Vi in the matchup? Does she not get in and deal some damage?
She's fine.
Yeah, just a little slow.
She kills Trundle and then dies. Like, she doesn't do much.
Yeah.
She's too slow, and then by then the deck has like Flash Freeze and Vengeance up, and you have to like hit with her and level her in order for her to be a threat. Now sometimes you play her and they like can't get a unit on the board, and then she's really good, but not often. I will use her to like drag an Avarosan Sentry out of the way so like my bots can connect or something though.
Makes sense. Do we have one more for TLC, or was that our third one?
Yeah, let's do one more.
Okay. We get Bot, Star Shaping, Mystic Shot, Vi.
I just keep bot. You know what I'm looking for?
What?
More bots.
More bots.
More bots.
Okay, we got...
This hand's fantastic. This might be the perfect hand.
We get Zoe, Ballistic Bot, Spacey Sketcher, Pale Cascade. You like Cascade that much, eh? I feel like they're just like, they're just gonna kill it anyway.
What?
Like, I don't know, like your 1/1s die to Avalanche. Your bot is getting like typically like 2 avalanches or deal.
You're forcing them to have a lot of avalanches here.
I always
so the reason this hand's so good is because you start with Zoe and you hit them, right? And then you play Ballistic Bot. Maybe if you're not attacking until turn 2, you wait to play Zoe until turn 2. That way you can Pale Cascade through a Vile Feast and draw a card. And then we'll just play bot on turn 3. But like you beat Vile Feast with this hand, which is really important because then it forces them to start using those AoE removal spells like Avalanche, and bot doesn't die to Avalanche. And then with the Zoe, which is pretty much guaranteed to hit, and Spacey Sketcher, we can probably find the +0/+2 Moonglow, the spell shield one.
Yeah.
And just continue forcing through. Like we can power through a lot of removal with this hand, right? Like we're beating the first Vile Feast because Pale Cascade. We're beating Avalanche because Ballistic Bot is a 1/3. And then we can find Moonglow most likely to beat another one. So like we're going to just continue to force them to have it. And they're just going to we're just going to keep putting it on them to have more ways to try to deal with our units. Because like this Ballistic Bot, after you cast all the ignitions and the celestial cards and the super cool star charts, is going to be huge.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I totally forgot about Vile Feast. I was just thinking about avalanches. It feels so bad when you go to Vile Feast with Zoe and they Pale Cascade it. You're like, oh, now this is
Oh
like an
no,
issue.
yeah. You're down because like Pale Cascade draws another card, so you're already down a card. Zoe's hitting you, so you're down another card, and Zoe's still on the field.
Yeah.
And you play like what, 2 Vile Feast? Like maybe?
No, I think I'll play 3.
Sometimes you play 3, or and you split between like Vile Feast and like Ice Shard or something, but you have to commit another like 3 mana to try to kill this Zoe.
It's still very annoying because then like Zoe can start like being a threat all by herself. Now she's like you can start going towards leveling and stuff. Yeah.
So yeah, this is like the ideal hand. You could trade Spacey Sketcher for something else like a goat and still be really, really good. But yeah, like this hand's fantastic.
Nice. Okay. Next up we have aggro. Maybe why don't we do let's pretend like we'll do 1 against discard aggro, 1 against spiders, and like 1 against Nightfall or something, because we kind of
let's do Overwhelm as the third one.
Okay. Okay, so against
Nightfall is pretty much the same as like spiders.
Yeah.
In the way you mulligan.
Fair enough.
Okay, so discard aggro.
Discard aggro. We get Pale Cascade, Get Excited, the Fangs, the Mystic Shot.
So we're definitely mulliganing Pale Cascade. And we're probably just going to keep the rest and hope to spike a 1 or 2 drop.
Yeah.
Fangs is very good. We definitely want the removal.
I would be tempted to get rid of the Get Excited.
I would rather get rid of Mystic Shot.
Well, really?
I know. But if that, like, we have to kill Jinx, and the deck is so good at dealing with like the 2/2 that pumps the whole team.
Yeah.
Like if they go like super wide, they play like Zonite Urchin, Jury Rig, and then turn 2 or whatever they play the 2/2
Battlecaster
that pumps their team. We can still get excited at if we have to. Right. If we're like, our hand kind of sucked, the mulligan didn't work out, we could still get excited at. And so it's just like we could kill Draven on 3, we can kill Jinx later. Like it's just a more flexible removal spell.
Fair enough.
I think keeping both is probably the way to go.
Okay.
Because like even if we don't draw anything to Fangs, we're not like absolutely drowning. We're casting things on turn 2 and 3 that impact the board. And like we mentioned before, this deck is very low to the ground. So there's a pretty good chance by turn 3 we'll draw 1 or 2 drop.
Yeah, fair. Okay, so we throw away the Pale Cascade and we get a second Fangs.
That's kind of brutal, but not awful.
Yeah, we really need the first turn or 2 to draw like a 1 drop or a 2 drop, ideally. Just get on the board, just because Get Excited goes. Discard aggro goes so wide, so fast.
Yeah, but like we pointed out, you have like what 9 1-drops or something.
Yeah.
So
not likely.
You have like 3 draws before it's like important.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna be okay unless you go like star shaping Pale Cascade, in which case you're probably gonna die. Well, I mean maybe not even then. You're still going like Mystic Shot and to Get Excited into Fangs, right? Like you might be behind, but like you're not dead.
You're not out of it yet,
which is why I like this deck so much. Like this is a really clunky hand, and it's still casting things on turn 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, and it could, depending on what they do, it could be very, very good against them.
It could be very good. It could just line up like perfectly well.
Yeah. Good call. Okay, so
get like a serpent on Fangs and you're in business.
Okay, next up we have spiders. So we have 2 Mountain Goats, Ballistic Bot, and a Sump Dredger.
I'd probably keep both goats, mulligan the rest. Pretty into anything that blocks fearsome units.
Yep.
And now I just want burn spells, and then I want to find a Fangs or something.
Yeah, very important. The spiders deck is very fast, so low to the ground. Lots of fearsome.
You could make a very good argument for keeping 1 bot, 1 goat. Because if they play like Saboteur, you'd rather have bot
than
goat.
Yeah.
So maybe let's keep 1 bot, 1 goat.
I like that. So end up with Zoe, Thermo Beam, Ballistic Bot, Mountain Goat. Yeah. Pretty darn fantastic. Good. Basically everything you want. Yeah. No complaints.
You're killing. Yeah, you're either you're playing Zoe on turn 1 if you're attacking, and if you're not, you might Thermo Beam something. Like it depends on what they play.
Yeah.
Right. And then you're playing whatever unit you need to on turn 2 to like block better. If you need to block a 3/2 with fearsome or an Elise, you play goat. If you don't, you play bot. And then we're just generating value with the Zoes. We have the removal spell. Like, yeah, Sand's great.
Okay, third deck we're up against is Overwhelm.
Mm-hmm.
We got two
Okay.
Zoe's Ballistic Bot, Sump Dredger.
I think we should keep this whole hand.
Wow. Do tell, pray tell.
We're going to play Zoe.
Yeah.
And we're going to attack. And we're going to get the super cool star chart.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's probably going to die on turn 3. Either to Merciless Hunter, whatever its name is, or to Exhaust.
Yeah.
And then we can play another Zoe. And if not, by some miracle Zoe doesn't die, 2 mana stun target creature is like really good against Overwhelm.
Yeah.
They play Renekton and you're like, nope, stay there.
And then you get to deal 4 damage to it all the time too.
Yep. And then I do want to keep the bot because I want a 2-drop. The ignitions are very good and everything. It can trade with a lot of things once you pump it up. And then I mentioned earlier when we were going through the different matchups and stuff, that I really like Sump Dredger in this matchup. This is one of the only matchups where I'll keep Sump Dredger because it trades with Renekton and Rune Runner.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
So
nothing nicer than being able to throw it in front of a Rune Runner.
Yeah.
And
you could mulligan a few cards in this hand. Like you could mulligan the Sump Dredger and the Zoe. You can even mulligan the bot, and I wouldn't like yell at you for it. But I think this hand is pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. Okay, so I think that's it for our mulligans. Real quick though, we didn't touch on some of the other options for the deck list that we kind of mentioned earlier. The main one sort of being like iterative improvement, right? That's like one of the big ones.
Iterative improvement and Subpercible are like the main flex slots, yeah.
Yeah. So what are you thinking there? Because I've definitely been blown out by some iterative improvements. I'm like, oh, they're like Subpercible. I'm like, okay, gotta go kill it. They're like, copy it, play it, draw a card, hit you some more. I'm like, oh, that hurts.
Yeah.
On bots, like you said, very good against TLC.
I like iterative improvement a lot, but it really is rough against faster decks like Azirelia, Thresh-Nasus, and Overwhelm are mainly where it struggles. It just like rots in my hand because I'm playing something and we're trading immediately.
Right.
And like I don't have time to spend 2 mana to get another unit because I have to cast my removal spells. I have to keep up this Hush for that Battle Fury. Like I just don't have the mana for it. And then by the time I get to that late game point where like Subpercible, iterative improvement, Subpercible is like insane, I don't even need it because I'm already beating you.
Yeah.
So I cut the iterative improvements. I see why people keep them in. It definitely helps against things like TLC. It helps against like the Dragons deck. But yeah, against these like faster decks, I really don't want it.
Yeah, makes sense. And then Subpercible, we talked about a little bit.
We talked about it a little bit. I'm playing one.
People play 2 mostly, right?
People play 2. Yeah,
so
yeah. It's really good with iterative improvement in that like late game Subpercible, iterative Subpercible. The other like flex slots, I guess, are the 3-drops. Like some people are on no Sump Dredgers, some people are on no Priestess. That's usually what they're cutting for the Subpercibles and the iteratives. I just really like to have like those plays. I usually don't play them on like turn 3. I usually play these cards on like turn 4 or 5 or 6 because this deck wants to double and triple spell so often, but they're so nice at like really smoothing out that mid game. Like finding a comet or a meteor shower or something can really like change how the game works out for you. And Sump Dredger just keeps the value coming. Plus it's a good blocker. It survives avalanche. So I like the card.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Okay. Now that mulligans are done, we're gonna jump onto the ladder and play a couple of games. Hopefully kick some butt.
Ooh.
Okay.
Aurelia Azir. This is a good matchup to try to like, to show people the deck.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see this in action. Because this is the matchup I didn't know too much about. Yes, tell us.
Yeah. What are you thinking here?
I definitely don't want Hush, right?
Nope. I don't think we want Fangs.
Probably want the Goat.
And I'm pretty sure I want to get rid of Discard. Get excited. We could keep it, but it's there. We have more efficient removal spells. And I think I'd rather mulligan it and hope for like Zoe or Mystic Shot or Thermo.
Yeah, you don't want to point it at like one of the 1-drops and it doesn't kill Azir.
Yeah.
Kills Aurelia, but that's about it.
So let's get rid of it. Definitely keeping Goat, though. I like this hand a little bit more because it has Zoe. This is what, like, Submersible just so bad here. It's so bad.
Yeah.
No 1-1, please. Okay, that 1-1's fine. I was hoping, yeah, not the... I can't... It's like Dancing Droplet or something.
Yeah, the elusive one.
The elusive one. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No blockers.
Exactly. Okay, so far, Mountain Goat can trade with Student. Okay, so it looks like we get the trade. Which I definitely want. Could block with Zoe. Not going to, though.
Yeah, so all of a sudden here, even just on turn 3, we have a bunch of options.
The question is, do we even want to like get rid of the super cool, or maybe we just attack with Zoe? Because if we attack with Zoe, like if we just attack with Zoe, it's like a soft pass, and then we can get excited in Aurelia that gets played. I think I'm just gonna attack with Zoe. And a 0 would be problematic.
Not getting the
We'd
card.
probably go
Not getting the
super
card
cool.
advantage hurts me every time.
Yeah, I know. I'm the same way. But like the card advantage isn't our like worry, you know?
Yeah,
Not right now.
It doesn't do as much in this matchup. We have some very specific cards.
Probably just Serpent.
So, are you thinking that we might try to flip Zoe?
Zoe? Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go for it. It happens pretty often, actually, with this deck. I'm thinking we Spacey Sketcher the gem right now. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. I honestly don't see why not. I wanted the gem as like another card to flip Zoe, but it's really just doing so little at the moment.
Crescent Strike's okay. None of these cards are particularly good.
No.
Right now.
They're going to Blade Dance us, and we're not going to have any real good blockers.
Yeah, I mean, I could take Moonglow to make blockers, but that's so mana inefficient.
Can we get our gem back?
Yeah, right. I want the gem again. This sucks. We're just going to take Crescent Strike.
Yeah, I think we have to also. Just like, we just can't block anything.
You just can't block anything. I paint Sparkle Flies. Some Dredger blocks things.
There you go.
Pretty happy with that. I'm sorry, Zoe. I might be trading you off here. Could also just stun and then go after it with Serpent. That's like fine.
Yeah, don't hate that. What else we got?
Well, we want to play Vi next turn.
Yeah, how big is she?
6.
Okay.
But flipping her is not really the thing. I think I like this.
I like stun. Yeah.
Really wish I had like a Mystic Shot or a Thermo Beam or something. Just one more mana.
How close are we to flipping Zoe?
5 of 10.
Which sounds like a lot,
We
but
could probably flip her on turn 6.
Yeah, our next turn.
That's a good draw. Yeah. So we're currently threatening everything, which is really nice.
Yeah.
The Mystic Shot was a fantastic draw because we can point it at Greenglade if it gets Homecoming or something.
Yeah, also just be able to double spell is like so huge.
Yeah, it's so important for this deck.
Bank.
Gonna get in with Zoe again. We haven't actually cast Super Cool Star Chart yet because we Spacey Sketchered it away.
Yeah.
So it counts for the level up.
There's nothing that hurts more when Zoe's on like 6, 7, 8, and they like super cool star chart, and then it goes up one.
Cool and it
you're
counts,
like,
and you're like,
oh, how have you not cast one yet?
It's just so bad.
Okay, so we might see a Homecoming here. They have 8 mana.
I think they're thinking, yeah.
Lots of thinking.
Mm-hmm. They could also have like lead and follow, which I guess would be annoying. We do have to keep an eye out for like Voice of the Risen. because that's going to start coming into play. I'm assuming their Azir's not dying here.
Like
I
how
really hope they go bounce.
Yeah, if they homecoming on the 2-1
right?
and we Mystic Shot to counter.
Oh, yes.
But they could have a counter.
Yes. It's so good.
If they had a counter though, you think they would just whip it off so fast, right?
They would have just fired it
This
up.
is big. This is a big
amazing.
turn of events.
Huge swing.
Good players draw Mystic Shot. Oh, Azir number 2, not bad for our opponent.
Not bad, but I don't think it's going to be enough now.
Yeah, we're still at 14. We have a sizable board. Okay, so this is one of those spots where like I like to slow it down because this is like that pivotal moment in the game.
Yeah,
I feel like
this is the turn.
You're another Mystic Shot, very nice.
Yeah. It's just getting pointed at Aurelia like 100%. We have like blockers for days with Vi, which is very nice.
So we want them to
just starting with Mystic Shot's fine.
Don't we want them to cast their
this?
Yeah, so that they can't homecoming.
Yeah, we can just pass. Yeah, I think that's totally fine.
That's what I do. I don't know if that's correct or not.
No, it's totally fine.
Because if they do homecoming Aurelia, it's kind of like not too
whatever. Yeah,
because they can still return her with the 2 mana 1 and get another Blade Dance, which is also super annoying.
Just gonna block the soldier with Vi probably. Shorima. We can actually flip Vi.
Is that particularly good?
Makes us have lethal next turn.
Oh, it does? How so?
Yeah, because we can flip Zoe and play Submersible and give elusive, and she's flipped, so she'll do 15 damage when she hits.
Yikes. I'm so used to blocking her, I forgot that she still does the 5 even when she hits the face.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. Like we're not really threatened here though. So we can just like do this.
Yeah, they only have 3 cards in hand. They kind of have to come to us.
Yeah, like we're still gonna kill them next turn.
Yeah, we've got all the removal and the star shaping and like some more units. Like I feel like they have to show us something.
They have to play something else. This attack's not good. Okay, there's that. I guess that's kind of annoying. So now I'm just gonna shoot Aurelia, I think. Yeah, let's just shoot Aurelia.
And they have
before she gets flipped.
Yeah, they haven't played a landmark, right? So the pump spell isn't enough to kill our Vi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
GG. Yeah.
So you get them.
Opponent saw the writing on the wall.
Man, when Vi is good.
That Mystic Shot on that homecoming turn was
that was it right
Vi's
there.
Solid.
If we did not draw a Mystic Shot there, do you think we lose that game?
The turn that they homecoming?
Yeah. It wasn't looking good.
It would have been tough for sure. It definitely would have been tough.
Sure, it would have been a lot closer.
Would have been a lot closer because we were playing around a lot of things those last couple turns, but like we were so solidly in control.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would have been a lot closer, especially since they had a second Azir. So like even after we kill it, there was gonna be another one. Now Greenglade Duo, whether Greenglade Duo lived or not, doesn't actually matter because we just block it with Zoe. But like the tempo loss was what would set us back really far.
Yeah.
Because the next turn we would play probably Vi and Get Excited. Oh, all right, we're running it again.
Right back.
Yeah, the next turn we would play probably Vi and Get Excited, which is just not as fun. I kind of like this whole hand. What are you thinking?
Yeah, don't hate it. I never know when to keep Vi on my opener. That's like my big thing.
Yeah, keeping Vi is definitely like a luxury, I feel like. And I think with our hand, we have that luxury. Like these are mostly the cards I'm mulliganing to. And then one of the cards I want to draw is Vi, so I'm just going to keep it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I would love to have like a Zoe or something, right? But
Do we want to wait for
really good here?
Do we want to wait for the gem?
Yes, but Goat will trade into Dunekeeper, which I don't want.
Could Thermo Beam the Doomkeeper. Is that too much?
I don't think I want to do that because it kills his ear.
So what would we discard then?
Mystic Shot. I think I'm going to. Because, like, this is our Green Glade duo removal. And we just have to hope they don't have, like, Aurelia and Azir or something. Because we can't kill, like, both. Now, here's the question. Do we pass so we have enough mana to Thermo Beam and Azir next turn?
I think we possibly. Also, they're probably going to develop. If they don't, that seems good for us, right?
Yeah, like, I think a pass here is fine.
Yeah.
They just pass back. Okay.
Like, I think this is fine for us. And the Goat's not, like, doing a whole lot, right? Oh, Zoe's nice.
No, I mean, it would have attacked and given us a gem, and that's kind of nice. I mean, I don't really care about that. So I think we can just go like Zoe, Goat, Thermo this.
Do we not want to Goat first so that we can get the gem?
That's true. Yeah, to block the blade. Definitely true. I was thinking, like, I wanted to level up Zoe as fast as possible. If this is the play, then we should probably block here and Thermo Beam Aurelia for 3 to make sure she dies.
Oh, yeah, good call.
Shapestone.
Playing around the Shapestone. Yeah, I would have been greedy and
played that.
Plus,
we take 3 less damage that way.
Yeah, I would have played that Zoe out and then just got blown out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes it's better to be conservative. And also just, like, getting Zoe down that turn didn't matter that much. Whereas killing Aurelia is fantastic. Wait, are you thinking of not going Zoe first here?
Well, I kind of want to play Priestess.
What are you looking for?
Because if we don't play Priestess now, like Comet or something, or Meteor Shower possibly. Because if we don't play Priestess now, we're not playing it till turn 6. Which I guess is okay.
I guess you could just Zoe after.
Yeah, like that would be the play, Priestess Zoe. I lose access to Thermo Beam, but I think that's okay. Let's go for it. Okay, yeah, take Comet. Warrior's like something to consider, but Azir can flip pretty easily.
Homecoming's a beach.
Not willing to trade Zoe when I have a Daring Poro in hand. I will if I have to, but I don't want to.
Yeah, what if we didn't have... I guess we have a lot of removal also, right? There's also a lot of options for us to kill that and get the Zoe online.
I'm just going to play, like, Daring Poro here, probably. Because he's going to flip, so I can't kill him. I don't really want to play... I don't want to play Vi this turn. It's just, like, not that good.
Oh, good, a 3/4.
I'm super down to Thermo Beam that. Yeah. I think I'm just going to shoot that.
Can we just Vi it on our turn?
Yeah, but I'd like to Vi something else. Like, we could Vi Sparring Student. Because then we go like Thermo Beam, Vi, Comet, right? That's a pretty good, like, sequence of turns.
Yeah. I guess I just have PTSD from the student destroying me so many times. So I'm like, can we just kill that?
This deck blocks Student, like, pretty easily because we just have a bunch of, like, fodder units. Oh, there's the Shapestone we were playing around last time. Not too bad considering there's no, like, champ leveled, but could be a problem later. I'm just gonna. I think we just take this hit. Sand and blood. What are you thinking here? Do we make this trade?
Man, I don't know. You are the Rubin Fire.
I'm gonna do it.
Rubin.
Yeah, I'm not super
player
excited about it, but the Rubin pile player, the Rubin
in this relationship. We get rid of Thresh Nasus. I'll have some input, maybe some TLC. But this deck confuses the bejesus out of me. Nothing here makes sense.
Nothing even makes sense.
It's like the Willy
What am I even
Wonka
supposed to do?
of frickin' Runeterra decks.
All right, our opponent's definitely holding either like Homecoming or they're banking like an Azir.
Would you ever just end round?
We can, but I don't know. Their deck's pretty efficient.
Yeah.
And if it's Homecoming, then the ending round is good. If it's Azir, ending round is like not that good. Oh, lead and follow. Okay. It's fine. Do you also have Azir? No. Okay, then that's not really something we're worried about. I would love to flip my Vi. Thank you so much for asking. I could have gemmed here to like block both, but I really want the mana. Because we can play bot and Comet next turn if I don't gem. And that might be a line I want to take.
Eventually get in with Zoe this turn.
Next turn?
Oh, yeah, sorry, on our next turn.
Yeah. I think I just take this. Like, yeah, whatever. I could have played a bunch of stuff. Maybe I should have, but this is fine with me.
Have you ever gone one of those spots where your opponent just seems like they have nothing and you pass, so you're just like, okay, just in case they're like screwing with me though, I take it.
Just in case, yeah.
But then like,
just in case they're like getting me.
But then sometimes you just like out level yourself. You're like, oh, I should just spew onto the board and like just wreck them. Like I give them a bunch of time now. So why are we getting excited and not just pulling with Vi? Because you want to pull a 3/4?
Because I want to kill Voice of the Risen, and I'm trying to induce some sort of response. Because I have this Comet. Okay.
So if they
have like a bunch of
if they Blade Dance into Vi now, they just take 5?
No, it's only when attacking.
Oh, okay.
We're looking for. Do I even need Equinox? Not really, right? Like, I have tons of blockers.
Yeah,
I have double Hush, which
this is one of these spots where we gotta think like, how does our opponent win? How can they just get us? Like Azir into
Azir and Aurelia? Maybe. What do we got here? 6?
Yeah, with double Hush especially.
Yeah, I just don't know how they beat us. Like, normally I just snap take Equinox there, but
double Hush in hand.
Like, yeah, I have double Hush, so I don't even need to. I'll block a couple things, I guess.
Again, so used to playing Thresh Nasus, so I'm like, get those slays, get those slays,
get the slays, get the slays.
Yeah. Level Thresh. Oh wait.
Oh, Pale Cascade, that's kind of nice. Yeah, all right,
Got
GG.
him. Wow.
And that's how that matchup works. When they don't draw Azir, it's like so easy.
Yeah.
You just kill everything else.
That was wild.
Also, Voice of the Risen is so much easier to kill than Marshall. Oh my god.
Yeah. And just also much less effective when like they just don't have a level champ, but you're like. So, man, I gotta say, like, good against Aurelia Azir, good against Thresh Nasus.
Yeah. Not like it doesn't like stomp it.
Yeah. How's the game though?
You know, our opponent didn't have like the double Deus Azir hand, but our opponent's hands were like functional. The second hand was a little weird. But like our other opponent had like Aurelia, double Azir, like
Homecoming,
Sparring Student, yeah, Homecoming, like super functional hand. But it could definitely be a tough matchup.
Yeah. Wow, that was very informative. The deck is real, and if you put the time into learning it, it will definitely reward you for that. Any thoughts as we wrap up, Bay?
No, I think that's it.
Cool. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Thank you so much for listening to the Mastering Runeterra podcast with Jay and Bay. New episodes come out every Friday. If you haven't done so already, be sure to join us on Discord, check out the Patreon team, and have a look at our deck database on Twitter at Master Runeterra. Links to all of these can be found in the show notes and description.